think that's the beautiful thing about God and about joy. It shows up. He shows up in all the places you least expect to find him and all the places you need him most.
Welcome to the Midweek Motivation Podcast, where we bring practical help for your faith and life. Here's today's episode.
Hi, my name is Jess, and I just want to welcome you to this week's Midweek Motivation. I'm one of the pastors here at Westside, and I've got Valerie with me. And Valerie works with Compassion First. She's a global ministry partner. And man, this week our focus is joy. Our topic is, it's the season of joy, right? But I know that sometimes that can be maybe an elusive thing to find in the season. But I'll tell you what, when I look at your website at Compassion First, and just from what I know about the Compassion First ministry, joy is all over the place. Mm-hmm. And so, Valerie, I'd love if you would share with us a little bit about your ministry and what it is that you guys do. And let's just start there.
Okay, Jessica. First, is it okay if I just say thank you to Westside? You guys have been friends and faithful partners for a whole lot of years. Aww. And so the story unfolding in Indonesia, you guys have been on the ground floor of that and are integral part of that. And so just thank you. And know that whatever I get to share today, that is like unpacking some of the beautiful things God's doing. It's not something he's doing apart from you. It's actually he's done that through and because of you. So first of all, thank you for that. So what we get to do is we get to care for children rescued from commercial sex trafficking throughout the islands of Indonesia. So we get to care for girls. We get to help fund and facilitate, along with police, rescues and intake girls into one of our 24-hour residential homes where they just get the tools to put their lives back together again. And so through education and counseling and legal advocacy and all kinds of other resources and programs, and most of all, just people who show up every day just to love them back to life, and just watching God resurrect dreams that were dead and heal from trauma, but also give people just a vision for who God's made them to be and what they're actually capable of. So that's what we get to do. We get to care for girls who have been rescued from trafficking, and we get to care for communities and children who are especially susceptible to being trafficked. Mm. So really the ultimate goal is that trafficking never enters the story of a child. And in addition to caring for the children who have unfortunately suffered that trauma, we get to come alongside families and help to ensure that trafficking does not enter their families' lives. And that's through school and educational opportunities, entrepreneurship training for their moms, and basically just helping communities realize their worth and give them opportunities to live up to that potential, and seeing their vulnerability toward being lured into trafficking because of their the crisis that they find themselves in, the poverty that they find themselves in, be able to begin to rewrite the stories of not only their own families, but also their community, and with the grace and help of God, their nation. So those are the main focuses of our work.
That's amazing. I went onto your website in preparation for this, and I saw a whole bunch of different testimonies. And one of the things that we talked about on Sunday was just we talked about the fact that God is joy, and because God is joy, he gives us our joy. And then we talked about some ideas about how we can reconnect to that joy. But ultimately, once we find it, it's our job to share it and to find opportunities to share it. And I see that when I look at testimonies on your website of people who have been able to engage, not only like testimonies of the girls that you guys have rescued, but just all of the people that are involved in that. And I think that that's just a beautiful thing. One of the things that I noticed is the holistic approach that you guys have, and that you kind of talked about right now. Can you, I know that there's some sensitivity around some of this, but can you share like a story or some kind of something that reflects that idea that these ladies, they start from the very beginning, and you guys just walk all the way through. Can you share a story of something that
Yeah.
happened like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really love what you're saying about joy, especially when you're doing work like this that to the outside can seem really daunting, really dark, and places where you actually least expect to find joy, which is, I mean, in a cemetery where people live among the graves and sell themselves there and are HIV positive, and to find joy there. I mean, God is, or in the broken heart of a 12-year-old who was sold for sex over and over and over, and then to find joy in that restoration process with her. And I think that's the beautiful thing about God and about joy. It shows up, he shows up in all the places you least expect to find him and all the places you need him most.
Yeah.
And so like it's in all the darkest, most hopeless places that the presence of God just is. And it is all the work that we get to do. It's not just about finding joy, but it's about being fueled by it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about being fueled by it. And it's not just about having joy and hanging on to it, but it's about entering into it. And when we actually are part of the story of God, a part of the things that bring him joy, he fuels us by that joy. And so even the deepest heartache, like even in the hardest challenge, at the core of it, there is that just a joy, that ember of joy that literally just never, ever, ever fades. It's the work and God is in the middle of that. And so when we join him in that invitation, they cry a lot of tears and there's a lot of heartache that we see. But I can tell you that there is so much laughter and so much celebration as we realize that, heartache and celebration will always live together. So our joy is not dependent on we're celebrating today and we're mourning tomorrow. And most of the time we're doing both those things at the same moment. It's but there is a fuel, the fuel of God. I believe that the most beautiful restorative works on this planet is his joy, which is his grace, because we need it. When we enter into the depths like that, we need that joy to buoy us, And so, I'm trying to think of a specific example. I think that what I am just most astonished by is the process of walking with a girl, through, she's rescued by a policeman. She's taken back to their headquarters, and it's determined maybe that Compassion First would be a good fit for her. And so working along with police and our caseworker and her parents, if she has them, and sitting down with her and trying to unpack to her what's available to her if she would walk into our doors. And that's a big decision because obviously she has trusted someone before that has betrayed her. And so we are strangers. Yes, the police are recommending us. Yes, we have advocates and friends, and we have grown a network within the nation of Indonesia where Compassion First is the first call for many of these precincts when they have a rescued girl. And so we come with the recommendation of government and the community, but that doesn't mean anything to her. All she knows is she's asked to trust someone else. Yeah. And why would she come? And so, just beginning at that point of her story and just inviting her just to come and see, and just to see that process of her giving us a chance, walking through those doors and experiencing maybe for the first time love. And I go back quite often. And when I do, I'll take I go to Michael's and I will clear the shelves of crafting projects. And I just go to the shelters and we cook and we do, yoga and we paint pictures, and one thing I did not too long ago, actually I have some of these back here, but it's okay, girls, if I gave you a canvas and I asked you, tell me your story, if you just, whatever part of your story you want to tell, up to you. But if you could tell me about yourself in on one canvas. What would it look like? And what's your dream? And that's something we're always asking them. Hey, what's your dream? And we've heard all kinds of things. A really cool thing is, Jessica, we have seen girls, like we have a girl in medical school. We have a girl who's gone through seminary. Like we have these girls who are reaching further than, man, they're even surprising us, but our commitment to them is not only will we walk with you through your healing process, but as far as you can dream and as hard as you want to work, we're with you for the long haul. And so whether that's college, whether that's vocation, whether that's going home and starting a family, like as long as they allow us to walk alongside them, we get to see these girls co-creating with God a future that they're worthy of. And so, but we start with, what's your dream? And I remember a girl not too long ago, she was explaining her painting, and she was unpacking what her dream may be, because I had asked her, what's the wildest, craziest thing you could think of ever doing or experiencing? And we have had a gamut of answers throughout the years. But what she said is, well, the wildest, craziest thing that I cannot imagine experiencing is this. I just want to know what love is. I have no idea. I don't know what it means to be loved. I don't know what it means to love somebody else. When the staff here tell me they love me, it means nothing to me. I just want to know what that even means. And that is where so many of our girls are starting. And so to intercept a girl's story at that point of her life, and then to see her as she begins to slowly maybe begin to realize that she's worth loving. And that process is a tough one, because that includes her testing that. And so almost 100% of the girls who actually enter our shelters run away once or twice or several times, and we go after them every time. And the message to them is, you're worth going for. And so there comes a point, and this is a point of joy, when you can see in a girl's eyes that she realizes, maybe I'm worth more than I could be sold for. Maybe I'm worth going for. And then to accompany her through her healing process, which is like this.
Right, yeah.
And to a point where, yes, she's at a point of stability and maybe even healing from her trauma, which, by the way, yes, there's a holistic approach to it, all kinds of resources and professionals, house moms, all the things. But I have to say that it is only the love of Jesus that completely restores a heartbroken heart.
Yeah.
But when she begins to encounter that love, and that she's worthy of that love, and then she moves from being in a mode of reacting out of her triggers and out of her fears and out of her insecurities and out of her trauma, to being able to actually think forward, thinking of like not only if it brought to a point of being healed, but actually of new possibility. And when she begins to realize, oh, I've been made for more. I'm worthy of more. And when we begin to say, and you actually get to choose. Like up to this point, so much of her story was beyond her control. But to say, hey, here's the thing, like you get to choose. But based on who you believe God made you to be and the things that you love. And that moment when something clicks like that, when she begins to realize her worth and begins to believe that she's worth something more than she's been told and sold for, that's joy.
Yeah.
So that makes it especially fun when we get just to celebrate those milestones along the way. And it's also so fun too, because we realize that we communicate to her, this is all your success story. Like these stories are not compassion first success stories. We get to be a part of their story. And this is part of a much bigger story. It's the story that God's writing, which is so universal. So yes, it's happening in the life of a trafficked child across the globe. But it's that same God and that same love and that same joy that he offers to us on this side. And so in addition to watching these girls' paths unfold and watching them watching full circles, like we have some residents now who are not in our program. They're out of Sarah's house now. They served however many months or years they each were in our program, and now they're out in their communities. And their heart is to work open a community center where services are offered to girls' families so they never endure trafficking.
Right. Wow.
They went to open a center that they wish they had in their own communities so other children don't fall into the same trap. And that's beautiful. Like just full circles of redemption that if we look long enough, God's about that. And so that's kind of a beautiful thing about Compassion First in Indonesia. We've been there long enough now that we've just seen circles of joy of redemption over and over and over, and believing that that's the kind of God we have, that even what is now a current deep heartache, that's going to be material for restoration and for joy. And it's going to be the most horrific part of the story is somehow, because God is God, can be the most beautiful material for an incredible story and an incredible life. And so we're just seeing circles of redemption everywhere. And for that to be recognized by, the communities that we serve, specifically like Indonesia, I think 90% Muslim communities, a Muslim population. And so there's pockets of Indonesian that are Christianized, and we work in that little sliver that is Christianized, but mostly we work in really 100% Muslim communities. And for our Muslim friends to see the light and the hope of Jesus in our work. And we are unapologetically loving Jesus, but we're also realizing too, you just go and you show up to love, Jesus will reveal himself. And we haven't had to kick down any doors. you just go and you love, and they open. And I remember one of our latest communities that we've been invited to serve in it's another cemetery, a 100% Muslim population, really vulnerable people, really resilient, beautiful people, actually. But there's always a concern sometimes when we come into a community of maybe our true motivation. So some questions, why are they really here? And are they here to Christianize? And what is their motive for reals? But I was at a celebration a couple of months ago where we had a room of 300 people from 2 cemetery communities. And for the Muslim community leader to stand up and sit in front of all of his friends, and he said, you know what, some people are wondering why Compassion First is really here, but this is what I have to tell you, that I personally stand behind everything they say, everything they do. They said, because the children who are on the street corners are now all in school. And then he said this, Jessica, he said, and because of this, we are moving from being known as a community of beggars to a community of blessers.
That's amazing.
I know, and so I think that's it. And I just think just being a part of this story that you can't really, that is so designed and initiated by God, just playing a tiny part of that, whatever it is, there's joy. There's joy there, and it's sustaining, and it's contagious. And that's something that so many people are surprised by. If you were to enter Pastor Gabe's been there. Mm-hmm. But, whether it's in our shelters or in our cemetery community centers, what people are most surprised by is just the laughter, the singing, the dancing, that even in the middle of a cemetery.
Yeah.
You hear the sound of children laughing, and you hear the sound of parents learning and being equipped not only with like opportunities to make a living, but also with them entertaining the possibility that they're loved just like they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are lucky to be their friends, and that we will serve them regardless of what their affiliation is any religion. But I am telling you, when you do that, like the Spirit, Jesus just like makes himself known, not only to those that we're serving, but to us. And it's just something that then it's just, you don't want to miss out on it. You know, like there's a price to pay. There's a heartache to it, sure. But there's a joy that you just don't want to miss out on. So when God invites you into a story, like, yeah, you know, the answer is yes. And also the answer is, please help us, Lord.
That's where we want to be, though. That's the sweet spot, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing. That's you actually answered all of my questions that I had, and so that's amazing. I have one question though, and that is how would you recommend people get involved in this amazing thing that you guys are doing right now?
Here is something that I'm seeing, Jessica, and I'm glad that you can actually like splice up this conversation however it serves you best. One thing that I'm really loving and I'm really realizing is that the invitation into the story of God, regardless of what side of the globe you're on, that is an invitation into joy and into purpose and into life. I know personally, and I have seen too many times, whether someone's getting involved with Compassion First in Indonesia or they're walking across the street to their neighbor, like, but when God invites you into something, that's not only for the benefit of whoever you're serving, it's for yours.
That's true.
So it's for yours. I mean, and so I honestly, the work that I get to do there, I'm the lucky one. Like you walk away thinking, oh God, when you connect me to a life, it goes both ways. Like it's everywhere. And so I love actually inviting people into the story of Compassion First, because I know that when they connect their story to God's story, a whole new way of life is about to just be accessed for them. And so there are lots of ways. There are ways to go to our website there, and we have where you can be an advocate as far as giving monthly, writing a big check. I say that without absolute any apology or timidity. You can give financially. You can pray. You can actually just become a friend and of this. Continue to be a part of following this story and see where you may interject yourself. And we have people on this side who are advocates for these girls and for this work wherever they are. We have yoga teachers giving classes. We have children selling their farm eggs. We have, there are people that are just using whatever they have, whatever giftings they have, whatever networks of people they have, and just like sharing the story, inviting people into it. And so that's a really beautiful thing, because every person offers something super unique. And so when you give what you I give what I have, like the mosaic is huge and it's more complete. Yeah. But you can have a speaker, you can have an event at your home. The beautiful thing about you guys being Portland based, which is not an opportunity for everyone, because obviously volunteering is a tiny bit tricky when the work's in Indonesia. We do take teams, but there, our headquarters are right down the street. Our headquarters are right there in Beaverton. And so there are really just practical ways of coming alongside with volunteering. I mean, that might mean stuffing mailers. That may mean helping with the event. And so you are uniquely positioned to actually maybe having opportunities, if you don't mind doing, office work that actually, and administrative work and things that actually are needed to actually support the work over there. And so
That's awesome.
I would start with the website. I would start with my, you are free to give out my cell phone and my personal email. And
Okay.
I have a conversation with anyone who would like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I saw that there are suggestions for ways that you can do fundraisers on the website. I love that we can lean in and support, through office work and all that kind of stuff too. So we'll make sure that we link all that stuff to this podcast.
Too.
Yeah. And honestly, that idea of sharing joy once you've found it is just a huge thing. And it is, you're right, as simple as just using what it is that you have to bring a little bit of love and joy to somebody else. So thank you so much for your time, Valerie. This has been awesome. Thank you for walking us through but actually what is happening on the ground in Indonesia right now, and just sharing the hope and the joy that comes out of all of that. So I really appreciate your time and all of the work that you guys are doing over in Indonesia and through Compassion First. So thanks.
It's been a pure joy talking to you, Jessica. Have a really great Christmas.
You too.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Midweek Motivation. To make sure you don't miss any content in the future, please subscribe, share, and if you enjoyed this, give us a like, and consider popping by a Westside service some weekend. You can find out more at westsidecommunitychurch.com.